One. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Grounded, my live stream Q&A podcast. And we have a very special guest today, AI Driver, who's, I don't know your real name, so we're calling you AI Driver today. I don't know if that's by design or not. So a few things before we start, I want to say today is November 16th, 2023 for anybody listening in the future. And my notes are not up and I thought they were. So we're going to be talking today about mostly Tesla's full self-driving and the future of that, version 12, hopefully. We recently learned that AI Driver is a former Tesla employee. So I imagine people are going to have questions about that. I do have one question related to that. He is still under NDA though, folks. So make sure you don't ask anything too crazy. He may deny your questions. So that's perfectly fine. And then the last thing I want to say is just thank you to everybody for coming. Thank you to AI Driver for showing up. And if you're not subscribed to him, go to his YouTube channel. He's almost at 100K. Get him this plaque that we all worked so hard for. He's the next one to pick it up. So thank you for showing up, everybody. And thank you so much. Do you want to say hello, give a little intro about yourself, whatever you want the people to know?
Yeah. Hey, this is the first time I'm doing something like this, so pretty awkward. Little bit nervous. I'm actually really happy to meet you, man. I've watched your channel since like years before I created mine, and you were one of the very few people I turned on the bell notification for. So I watched a lot of your stuff, and I'm actually a huge fan. So it's a pleasure being here, man.
I appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of yours as well, and I have taken some of your awesome editing and put some of those things into my videos. So it's good all around.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've noticed a few people trying out different things with like masking layers and stuff and chroma keyers and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. Okay. Thank you so much for showing up. So I got a couple questions for you. Do you know Farzad? Do you know Farzad in the Tesla community?
A little bit. I've seen some of his videos. I wouldn't say I watched, like, to be honest with you, I didn't even know he was an employee.
Okay. Yes. So that's
like, I saw that on Twitter.
Yes, so he is a former Tesla employee from a couple of years ago. Yeah, whatever. And I'm, you know what? I'm almost giving up on saying X. It's still such an effort in my brain to say X that I'm kind of like, I don't even care anymore. I'm just going to call Twitter. So he had a question for you that I'm going to bring up first. Do you think that the culture at Tesla can be replicated at other large scale manufacturers? Which I think is a great question.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, to be fair, I've never worked at any of the other manufacturers and I've never seen how they operate, but what I have seen is a lot of Monroe videos, and he talks about kind of like what it's like working there, and how difficult it is to make change happen. And I will say that it's like the complete opposite at Tesla. There would be constant changes and you could try things out, and that's kind of like how they operate, is they kind of like throw things at the wall and see what sticks, and that's a crazy environment to work in, but it also is how things get done the quickest. So I would say it would be very hard for Tesla or for other companies to replicate what Tesla is doing if they're still going through the business model of like, oh, you need to talk to this person to get approval for this and for this. Like, I was an associate on the line who actually like made changes permanently on the line, like within a day of just asking somebody like, hey, why are we doing it like this? And like, it was changed for everybody for all shifts within like days. And I don't think there's any other place that operates like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it is one of the big things about Tesla and any even medium-sized business. It can be hard for lower down people, especially the ones that are actually doing the work, to like inflict any change. And those are probably the ones that should be giving the most input because they have their hands on to what's actually happening. So you went through production hell with the Model 3, which I thought was so fascinating. So did you, this is kind of like fanboyish comment, but did you ever see Elon on the line? Did you see him walking around there?
Elon goes where the fires are. And the first couple years I was there, we saw him frequently in the factory. I actually worked night shift, so that was 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I would regularly see him at like 2 or 3 in the morning walking around with like an entourage of people. There was an office further on down in another area where apparently he slept all the time. I never got to see that. But yeah, he was... Okay. He's where the fires are. So in the later years, I didn't really see him at the factory at all. But in the first few, he was there constantly.
Great. And then I want to encourage people as we're chatting here, ask questions. The point of this is you can ask us questions about whatever you want, our channels, what we think of is coming for FSD, whatever. So, okay, I had one more question for you. And it is, what are your thoughts on the current hardware suite in regards to like FSD? I'm going level 5. Like there's a lot of kind of back and forth with people in the community that think that we need more cameras or you have to have radar or whatever. What are your thoughts about the hardware suite we have on, let's go with hardware 4 cars. Do you think it's enough for level 5?
I'm always confused about like the actual levels, like what level 5 truly means.
All right, let me rephrase it then, because that's very fair. No, that's very fair because they're not concrete. They're not concrete. Do you think that the hardware 4 vehicles, your Model Y today that you're driving, your hardware 4 Model Y, will get a software update that allows the steering wheel to be removed and the car to drive itself with nobody in it?
I would say yes. I've been back and forth on this, and I've been on the X Spaces and the Tesla investor chat or whatever, where I've kind of gone against that and said no. But with the advancements in AI that we've seen lately, like I kind of think it's only a matter of time. It's tough though. What I basically said in those spaces is what I'll keep with, and that is that I think that it's going to roll out like in zones. Like there'll be zones where it can drive fully autonomously. Like they have all the data about where the disengagements happen. I mean, I live around, like there's neighborhoods around me where I've never once had to intervene when driving, and I'll just drive around the neighborhood. That's where I like go to test things, and it's like I've never had to intervene once. And there's other places where it's like constant. Right. So I'm sure they have like a map of where all that's happening. And it would be really easy just to be like, okay, you can green light it here, here, and here, and here, and the car can do 90% of the driving, and it's just not allowed into these zones. And then eventually it will be allowed. And the interesting thing is, like, will the hardware be separated that way? Like, but yeah, I mean, the reason I have such conviction in that is because, like, it's how humans drive. Like, we use our eyes and our brain, and I think with the advancements we're seeing, it's only a matter of time until an AI can convincingly mimic us driving.
Yeah, actually, that's the part I really agree with, is like the way we drive versus, you know, and of course Elon says it all the time, but just from my own kind of looking around, and experiencing this, and then man, using this FSD has made me reevaluate the way I drive and the way like the humans around me drive. Totally. Everything looks so different to me now, having used the software for years, than it did in the past. And I agree on that part, that it's the way it can drive the same way we do, by looking around, by listening. The car does have microphones, of course. But of course, visual is the number one by far, because you got to know if you can go or stop or pull over. But I'm still like, my concern is still for, you know, peeking out, making turns with high speed cross traffic and stuff, because you do a lot of driving in like insane downtown stuff, and it's super busy and it's super complex. But the benefit the car has in those situations is that you're going real slow, because first of all, the speed limit's lower, and maybe the drivers around you seem pretty aggressive. But even if they are, you can't go much faster. Even if the speed limit was 50, there's too much stuff. There's too many cars. There's too many people and bikes and stuff. And where I see a lot of my problems, so like a lot of my downtown drives now, like you say, they can be perfect over and over again. And it really has blown me away, because that's the part that used to really screw up the car with, you know, too much busyness. Where I'm having most of my problems now is high speed scenarios where there's not a lot of traffic, actually. Maybe just a car every few seconds, or you'll go a full minute with 0 cars, and you're going a lot faster, because you have to be able to see much farther, you know, if you're going faster, and you don't have as much time to make decisions. So I don't think we need LiDAR or anything like that, but I think a couple extra cameras wouldn't hurt. just feels that
yeah
way.
And to be fair, like even in the driverless scenario that I'm mentioning, I don't think it's not going to be mistake free. What I'm hoping for is like, because I mean, like where the cameras are or whatever, you know, they're like a foot back from a human eyes or whatever, so it has to creep a little bit more. But you know, there's other cars like that too, so that's not a big deal. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, humans are making mistakes constantly on the road. The difference right now is that, like, it makes robotic mistakes and doesn't like correct its mistakes in a way that makes sense to the people around it. And I think that's what's most frustrating for people. So I think, Like that's what I'm actually looking forward to version 12 so much, is to see how it handles the mistakes it's making. Like I've had the beta like pull out in front of somebody and then just slowly kind of, and everybody behind me is like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like it'd be so cool to just get a giant boost of acceleration whenever that happens. But right now it's like I'll get a random boost when it's not necessary at all. Like no other contact, and then it'll just be so slow when there's people like frustrated behind me. So I'm hoping that we see more human. I mean, man, I don't want to say human like behavior, because that's what we're trying
humans,
to, because humans, exactly. But
the good human like behavior.
Yeah, we have, we live in a car centric place, and you're gonna have to get along with humans on the road. Like that's just the way it is.
Big time.
Like something that I wanted to mention that I found hilarious. I watched that video of your wife giving her thoughts on FSD and how she's using it a little bit more often. But into the video, she was like, oh yeah, around stop signs is not a place where I allow the beta to drive. It just doesn't do a good job. And there was a scenario where there was another car approaching, where she was at the stop sign first, and she's like, oh yeah, you're not going to do a good job here. But she like, it was obvious it was her turn to go, right? She doesn't come to a complete stop and goes. Like that's the way you're supposed to do it. Like you slow down to 1 or 2 miles an hour and go. Like I feel like that's kind of what humans expect, even when they say that they stop at stop signs all the time. That's not true. Like your wife is probably in the very top percentile of drivers, is super safe, and like, you know what I mean? Like I can tell by the way she talks about driving that she's way better driver than most people, and she is rolling stops even if she doesn't realize it, you know what I mean? So like I think that the more human it can be, the more accepting people are going to be when they see him on the road.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked about that a lot, and she notices these things too, in terms of what you said. Like, yes, she does roll stop signs, which like technically is incorrect, but I don't even want to call it technically incorrect, because it's not how the world works right now. That's just not how people use stop signs. And it's funny because, it's called a California stop, but everybody drives the same way around here. But to be fair, if I'm going off on a tiny bit of a tangent, but if you do see a cop around, you do make a complete stop, because they will nail you hard for that here. It's a pretty decent ticket, and they don't mess around, whereas like, for example, the highway here, the speed limit is 70, but you can go up to 80 and sometimes 85 and they don't pull you over, just because, I don't know, that's the culture. I have no idea why they don't, but they don't. Whereas the stop sign, everybody rolls them, but they'll nail you for it. So it's one of those things where I've actually had beta, several times now in these past few years, we'll do something and I have it on and it's kind of like, yeah, I want it to do it, but it's kind of annoying. I wish I was driving. And I'm like, oh, thank God I just passed the cop. Thank God it was on, because I would have been going 10 miles per hour faster. I would have rolled that stop sign and it didn't, and all this stuff. So, but yeah, she's noticed that too, where she used to kind of think like, yeah, I stop at stop signs. And she's like, oh, I guess I don't. I guess nobody does. All right. So do you have anything else you want to put in before I get to some of these questions?
Oh, no, you can go to questions.
Because they are rolling in. All right. Chris asks, now I'm not familiar with this, so if you're not, then we may have to keep going. I am wondering if you have seen any of Joe Justice's interviews. Do you know who that is? I don't know who that is.
I don't. It sounds familiar. I feel like I might have, but not off the top.
Okay.
Of my head.
Chris, if you want to give us some more context, then we can tackle that. And I'm also going to mention, I'm good here. You can actually see on right here. This is my Starlink thing. So we are actually both on Starlink, me and AI Driver. So I'm watching my connection here. If you get weirdness, that's why. But I have good weather, so I think we'll be all right. Okay, Steve says, will FSD version 12 come out for both hardware 3 and hardware 4 at the same time? We have a new Model Y performance with hardware 4, and it seems the amount of input video data for hardware 4 is far behind what is available for hardware 3. Go ahead. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think Elon kind of already answered that in his live stream of version 12, where basically the way I took it, and it's been a while, so maybe I'm remembering things wrong, but he basically, in my mind, said that it's all hands on deck getting hardware 3 full self-driving working well in pretty much like worldwide. And I don't think that means like no interventions and like works perfectly and like replaces the human driver, but I think getting it to a level where it's working well in pretty much all the areas that they want it to. But we're also seeing but if you were to ask me a while ago, I would have thought we would have not gotten full self-driving on hardware 4 at all, or that it would just be stuck on one version while they're working on hardware 3. But, with the release notes we just got, that might not be the case. So I don't know, maybe there's a possibility that they come out at the same time. I still feel like hardware 3 is going to get the edge though.
Interesting. Okay. I would actually think that they will both come out around the same time. But he said that I'm always like skeptical to believe too much of things he says because he says a lot of things that end up, not being true or at least being late, which is fine. But I think I do actually, I disagree with you on that one, which is pretty interesting. I think they'd come out around the same time, or you'd see the stagger. I mean, we'll see it with kind of the OGs. If the OGs get it first, like you and I, we now have a mix of hardware 3. So my OG car is hardware 3 and your OG car is hardware 4. Is your hardware 4 on 11.4.4?
Yeah. So I have the Model S that I have still on hardware 3.
And, you kept it. I thought you got rid of it.
Yeah. No, we're keeping it until my wife's out of school because she's doing the same commute that I used to do. She's commuting to San Jose every day, and she needs autopilot.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Okay. So anyway, yeah, we could see, I get a lot of, almost every video I post now, even if it's not about FSD, I get comments that are like, is hardware 3 going to be left behind now that hardware 4 is out? And no, let's make it clear. As what we know now, no, it's going to be a long time before we see a difference, in my opinion, between hardware 3 and hardware 4. Except, did you see those release notes for 11.4.8?
Yeah, I looked at them a little bit. I haven't had time to really.
So the last note, I think it was the last note or second to last note, was that they're basically improving the vision park by using more data from the hardware 4 cameras. It specifically says hardware 4.
Wow. Okay. So it's the first time we've seen hardware 4 in the release notes, and
yes,
but I don't have auto park. So how does that? What do you mean? They're improving
park assist.
Oh, okay. So like the vision and the lines. Okay.
Yeah, the vision park assist is going to get better. My apologies. I mix those up all the time. There are hardware 3 cars that don't have ultrasonics. So I'm kind of like,
yeah.
So we'll have to see what it means. But yeah, I found that very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So you think it's 11.4.8, right? You think it's like a hardware 4 only release?
No, I don't. But that was the note. So
okay, interesting.
Yeah, and it was posted to Reddit by somebody who, someone was like, "Oh, where did you get this?" And the guy goes, "I have early access." And I don't know if you've seen these people. Oh, you probably know. I don't know if you can even comment on this, so just stay quiet if you have to. But obviously, employees get the updates first. And then, I mean, most of the time, and then it goes to the OGs, and then, whatever, the normal release schedule. Well, in that employee pool, there are also people that are not employees. Do you know this?
No, I haven't. No.
So I don't personally know, but I know one of them. There are these people that are not employees, but they're in the employee pool because they're basically friends, like with high up people at the company. So these are either really early investors or like buddies of, Elon or buddies of his buddy or something. I know there are a few in Michigan. They're not allowed to publicly talk about it, but yeah, there's like this in the employee pool are these like non-employees that I don't know. It's pretty interesting. I thought.
Wow. Yeah. If I had a way in there, I'd be in there. I assure you.
Oh yeah. Well,
right when I left Tesla, they removed my car, and like I was sent to the back of the line, and I had to beg Elon on Twitter to get back into the early access.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. For a while there. Yeah. I wasn't getting updates at all. Like I had been like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cause there's like I think there might be like an internal flag. I don't know how that whole side of things works, but I think like once I removed my @Tesla address from my Tesla account, like everything changed.
Okay, sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, and that's not going to be a priority for them to be, messing around with that stuff. So yeah, you probably got to really beg them. Hey, is bearish. That's hilarious. Okay. So we can comment on this one. I like this one. I'm afraid of vision only getting tricked by optical illusions, especially in tight spots with blank walls, especially with ultrasonic gone now. What do you think? Or I can go first if you want a second.
Yeah, yeah, you can go ahead. I feel like that's going to have to be something like with memory. Like it's going to have to remember, like if you pull up to somewhere and your lights are on, like you can see the wall, like just because you get back into your car when it's dark, like the wall is still there. So it's going to have to somehow know that. But yeah,
for sure. So there's a lot of edge cases, and this is, you commented on this earlier. You said it's never going to be perfect. There's still going to be accidents and mistakes and stuff. And I totally agree. Even airplanes and trains are on a track and they still have accidents. Things happen. So it's never going to be accident free. And I'm sure that at some point in the future, this scenario is going to happen. But you got to look at the overall like statistics of, if you drive 1 billion miles and you have 2 accidents, okay, that's pretty fantastic, right? Compared to humans, where it's an accident every 500,000 miles or whatever. And so that's going to be the overall game. Now, is regulation and the populace and the culture, et cetera, going to allow us to get that far? That's its own question. But I totally agree with you. The cars are never going to be perfect. There will still be accidents. There will still be tragedies, but they'll be severely reduced. And, Elon has commented on that too. It's hard because you can't like show the accidents that didn't happen, right? They're prevented all the time. Actually, Tesla has done a pretty decent job of that, I feel like. Do you see those videos they released where like the auto brake stopped someone from backing into another person or whatever?
Yeah. Those are really impressive. It really is like the trolley problem. This is how I think about it. But like that's a very simple way to think about it. Like maybe there's 10 people laying down on the tracks and one on the other, and you can pull a switch to save those 10 people at the expense of one person dying. Like I think that pulling that switch is the morally correct thing to do. You're saving 10 lives, but the problem is that unlike the trolley problem, those 10 people are still walking around and have no idea. You know what I mean? They have no idea they would have died in a car accident if this technology didn't exist.
Right.
So it's really interesting. And I also think the accidents that will happen are going to be looked at very differently than human accidents, because it's not humans making the choices. You know what I mean? Just like what we saw with Cruise lately with the pedestrian, where it like dragged him 20 feet or something. Like it's absolutely terrible. But how many times this week did a human hit a pedestrian in San Francisco? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so
well,
yeah,
that accident was initially caused by a human, right?
Mm-hmm.
A human hits a person and then they went flying into the Cruise. So yeah, that was really tragic. But exactly, that's a great. I mean, it's a different type of accident. And it led to all the Cruise vehicles can't function now. They don't have their permit anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And that was another thing I said on one of the X spaces earlier, is that I really hope that the regulators follow the numbers, which so far I think they have been. I think the reason why they're removed from the roads is that they weren't. I mean, I don't know any of this for sure. We can only read stuff, but it seems like Cruise wasn't giving them that information of like what happened after the initial impact, and like kind of tried to cover things up is what it seems like. And I think that's why they're suspended right now, which is like a very big no-no. But yeah,
it's not a good situation. And it's one of those things where, when I was reading about this, it's kind of like, so as a driver human, you're not just looking at the road going straight. You're kind of looking at everything. And this is something that a robot, maybe an AI eventually can do these things. But as of now, it's not even close to doing anything like this. I'm sure you've all experienced driving down the road and there's that car near you that's just off. It's either swerving a little bit, or it keeps driving over the lines, or it's speeding up and slowing down. Something is weird about the way it's driving. You pick up on that. And you now pay extra attention to this vehicle for the rest of the time it's near you. Even if it never does anything wrong again, that vehicle has got a little bookmark in your mind. A robotaxi doesn't do that. It will react if they swerve over to you and move out of the way, but it doesn't care anymore. It then forgets that. So in that exact, I'm just speculating, of course, in that exact Cruise scenario, a human driver may have had warning flags that this person's going to do something bad. They're not paying attention. They may have seen the pedestrian up there well before anything happened and we're like, oh my gosh, they're about to hit them, and slam the brakes before anything happened and avoided that accident. So it's just, going to be a different world. Yeah, that was awful. All right, so let's get to some more of these questions here. Unless you want to keep going.
Oh no, I mean, I just, the more I dive into the Cruise thing, the more confusing it gets. Like, I don't know if you saw their public statement with the simulation that they did of like what happened during the impact. And they made this statement. What, you want to have Jamie pull that up or something?
I don't have that ability right now.
Well, you don't have that. What kind of host are you, man? But basically, they released this whole statement, and they recreated the situation in their simulation. But instead of the basically saying, or that they replaced the human-driven car that hit the pedestrian with another cruise vehicle. And they ran the simulation and said, this is what would have happened if two cruise vehicles were in the intersection. But the interesting thing is, it shows the pedestrian starting to walk into the crosswalk, and both cruise vehicles go into the intersection. Like the pedestrian was in the wrong there, but like that's another like situation where that's manual programming telling the cruise vehicle to behave more like a San Francisco local, to not piss people off, that had really bad, like that's against the law. Like if there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, you are not supposed to enter the intersection, and both cruise vehicles, even in the simulation, did. So it's like this fine balance of making it behave to where it doesn't piss off humans and like drives predictably versus like follows the laws. That's just another example that I thought, just by looking at that simulation. I might have to make a video on that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, and then this is another good point related to all this. How many times will these accidents result in minor injuries instead of large injuries or death? Because say you have an inevitable accident where you're gonna crash. Most of the time, a computer will be able to start applying the brakes sooner than a person. So maybe the collision happens at 15 miles an hour instead of 30, or something like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The difference, I remember very vividly when I was getting my license, the videos that they showed of like all these terrible accidents and stuff to just kind of scare you on the road. And like, I was scared. I was legitimately, everybody else was like just talking and like not even paying attention. I was like legitimately frightened how much of a difference 5 miles an hour makes. Like the braking distance of like in your reaction time of like paying attention versus not paying attention makes all the difference. And having something that is never not paying attention, like it's constantly paying attention and looking for danger at all times, where in places that you wouldn't be looking. Yep,
big time. All right, so moving on a little bit, how much high-speed freeway driving have either of you done? Human drivers have to make quick decisions at speed different from city driving. So I do about 50 miles a day. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I used to do, I don't commute very much anymore. I used to do between 110 and 120 miles every day, and I typically had the cruise control set to 80 or 85. So yeah, I'd say quite a bit. What I wanted to follow up with Steve and see what kind of like quick decisions he's talking about. You talking about like cutting in or?
Sorry, let me see, Steve. This one. Sorry, I'm not sure which Steve.
Oh no, I'm not even really looking at the main chat. I'm just looking at our window. I can only see the one you're pulling up, but I just want to know like what kind of situations he was specifically talking about like quick decision making on the highway.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like I understand you're going faster, but I almost feel like the decision making process is almost like, because everybody's kind of going a similar speed, it almost doesn't feel like there's quick decision making. I almost feel like quick decision making is more of like a condensed city driving environment, is where you need to make things happen fast.
Yeah, it's all relative. So, if the cars around you are moving about the same speed, the changes aren't that dramatic, but in the city, you're going much slower, so you don't have to look as far away. And so that it kind of relates back to what I was saying, where my big problem spots are where when I'm stopped, a stop sign and cross traffic is going 50 or 60 miles an hour or more. I mean, the speed limit on this road I drive every day is 55, and I get tailgated on that road. I'm not kidding. Sometimes I'll be going 70 miles an hour in a 55, and people are right on my butt, and I'm just like, oh, like kill me. Why are you doing this? So that's where I'm at a stop sign, and then traffic's going 50 or 60. So that kind of relative huge speed difference, you got to see from so far away that those people are coming at you. So, yeah, I guess I took this as he's talking about you're moving real fast, and with that, things can change quickly if a deer jumps out or a ladder falls off a truck or something. Yeah, the situation can change really, really quickly. All right, this one from John. Troll. Maybe I should have read this before I put it on the screen. Would it be better for Tesla to make FSD collaborative driver experience better, improving how it is actually being used by everyday drivers today, rather than focusing so much on the full capability? What do you think?
I've kind of battled with this one in my mind a lot. So like if you would have asked me when I was commuting, I would have much preferred Tesla to make the driver experience better. Like I think that their current, like with the current software they have, if they focused resources on it, they could have like driverless on the highway. I completely believe that. Like what Mercedes is doing, like under 40 miles an hour or whatever, and you're like behind another car or something, and like you can like not look at the road and take your hands off the wheel. I think Tesla is already there. But the problem with that is that getting those like permits, or I don't know what the permits are, getting that actually out into the public's hand requires going through lots of like testing of this specific version of software. And like by the time the approval is done, Tesla will be way ahead of where that was, and they'd have to, you know what I mean? So like Tesla is improving the software so frequently that I don't think it makes sense to try to get to something like driverless only on highways. Like I think they're just going for the whole thing, driverless everywhere, and they're not going to stop until they achieve that. Which, you know, I would love driverless on the highway or something. I don't know if I'm answering that question correctly, but I don't think Tesla is going to stop development and focus resources on something else, like making the experience better for humans, when the whole point of the software is so that humans don't have to be driving.
Yeah, I agree. Because when you look at other, I mean, they're like you said, they're going for it all. They think you get these cameras and, you know, these sensors, and then we just got to make the software, it'll drive itself. There are solutions out there right now, as you said, the Mercedes example, that work better in a certain capacity than full self-driving does, and can make the driver's experience much better. Or even something as simple as like Blue Cruise from Ford. Of course, it's way more limited than FSD, and my experience with it wasn't very good. But what they do have is they have special cameras in the cabin to detect your eyes in all situations at night, whether you're wearing sunglasses or not, like whatever, so that you don't have to touch the steering wheel. Tesla doesn't want to get all these specialized parts to kind of kajigger something together that works for this one specific example. But then once you move past that, it's like, okay, we don't need these parts. We got to change. They're just trying to get the basics and then make it all work. So it's just a different approach. And I think there is something, you know, of value there if you could make the driver experience better, especially because, okay, think of me and you, and then think of all the people in this chat. We're all like super nerds about all this stuff, and we're kind of willing to put up with the, you know, all the weirdness. Whereas my coworker actually just ordered a Model 3 last night. There is no way he's paying 12 grand for FSD. Like, heck no. He bought a standard range Model 3. He's getting the free color. He's getting the free wheels. He's going to spend 12 grand on this thing that works, you know, 10% of the time. Heck no. He's just getting the basics. Whereas if Tesla had, of course they have 6,000 for enhanced, but if they had like an option for $1,000 and then you don't have to touch a steering wheel on the highway, I'm sure he would spend the money on that, you know. But it's just a different goal. Okay, so how did AI Driver decide on his editing style? I personally love it and wonder what led him to it. Yeah, that, you know what, and I want to add to this my own thing. What is your workflow? Because your editing style is just awesome.
Well, I used to have a ton of hair until I started editing. I can tell you that. There wasn't a flow for a very long time. And I would typically like because I could never kind of mimic what I did with the video before, because there was like, yeah, see, that's the next comment. There's very little hair in this video. Yeah. But it was just kind of experimenting. And the coolest thing to me was the full self-driving visualizations. And I had some really early videos that are like deleted now, but where I like tried to like zoom into the visualizations and do all these things, but it went terribly. And then I just decided, like, even though this is going to be so much more editing work, I just want to like get a dedicated camera to record the visualizations and somehow put them over the video. And I just kind of went off what the comments were saying, which led me to kind of like what I was doing. Yeah, but it's a process, I'll tell you, man. I have things pretty figured out now, where I can just kind of like go into a timeline and do what I need to do. But like before, I was editing as I was going along, like completely. But now it's more like I watch the video, I do the voiceover, then I start to chop it up and do the actual transitions, because like every single one of those transitions is like manually keyframed, and it takes me, like, I know it's a labor of love, man.
I mean, the results
really
speak for themselves, because your videos do really well. I mean, I think you have the most successful FSD channel on YouTube by far, and the editing is amazing, and so it's worth the effort. It's a lot of work, but that's what you get when you put in a lot of work.
I don't know if I have the most successful one, but I appreciate that, man. It takes a long time, and I'm glad people notice. The fun thing is the videos that I don't like, that I kind of just throw together, seem to do the best, and the ones that I like take a long time to like think out and script, and they flop.
I know, isn't that the worst? YouTube like rewards you for like just throwing stuff out. Yeah, I've talked with many other people who feel the exact same way, including myself. All right. So for version 12, are you optimistic that version 12 will be sufficiently controllable to comply with the diverse legal requirements of different states and countries? So I'll give a little background on this while you think about it. So version 12 is going to delete like 300,000 lines of code or whatever from everything Tesla's done so far in developing this FSD. And they're going to neural nets. And so Elon kind of was trumpeting the fact that they didn't, write a piece of code that says when the light is red, you stop at the line. They have I compared it to ChatGPT, which maybe is not the best comparison, but from my understanding, it seems pretty good, where it learns as it does things. So they feed all this video in, and it basically sees, oh, I see when this situation arises. So that situation could be there's a light that's red, the car is stopping, and there happens to be a white line about where it stops. They feed all that in, and the system teaches itself. So one of the concerns is, especially if you feed it data from bad drivers, which Elon said they're actively trying to feed good driving data, which is subjective. So I don't know how you exactly determine that. But the concern is that what if the car starts doing things wrong or bad? And then, NHTSA comes up and says, hey, you have to change this. Will Tesla easily be able to do that? So that's kind of the background if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. I think that complying with the diverse legal requirements of different states is probably going to come last, to be honest. Like I think they could eventually, man, that's actually a really tough one because I have no idea like what goes on in the background. But if it's learning from, like, let's just say that like 80% of the data is from like California, because that's where like there's a zillion Teslas there, and just like it could work really well here, and somebody in a different state that has these different laws, like it'll drive like a Californian driver going to that state. And some people I don't think are going to like that very much. And it's I don't think they have a way to manually program it to do these things anymore. Like in the version 12 demo we saw it, like every stop sign that it went to, it rolled it basically because it was safe to do so. And it would even like cross stopping lines in the road to get a better visibility. And that's where I also will kind of like reiterate what I said earlier, where I think being safe trumps legal requirements. Like being safe and predictable, I think, is way more important than obeying every single law on the road, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard. And the thing that's hard about it is, we talk about, oh, this is how people drive, blah, blah, blah. But if somebody is driving to fit the driving style and you're getting your license and you take a driver's test, you're not going to pass. They're not going to give you your license if you speed just because everyone's speeding. It doesn't work that way. Same thing if a cop sees you, you're going to get a ticket. I mean, if they feel like writing it or whatever. But it's an individual basis. Now you have a single entity controlling, let's say 1 million cars, whatever it is, that all do the exact same thing. You can be like, hey, no, make all the cars do this thing. And so it kind of throws a wrench in that like freedom aspect almost. But yeah. And then I do want to add to this because, people ask this all the time because even state to state, as you said, things are different. The laws are different. People drive differently. We have examples of this already for years where Tesla, we can go with enhanced autopilot, acts differently all over the world. So in certain parts of the world, in Europe, they have different parts of Europe even have different restrictions on how much, say when enhanced autopilot is on, how much the steering wheel is actually allowed to turn before the driver has to take over. So you'll be going through a bend in the road and then you'll get a ding and you have to take over. Whereas obviously here in the US, it'll do a circle, you know what I mean? And then same thing with turn signals, like the car has to use the turn signal X amount of times before it makes the lane change, or it's not allowed to use the turn signal, or you have to be this close when you use summon. So Tesla already has in the software, like local stuff going on. So they have the ability with the current software. They know it's going to be a challenge going forward. So I imagine there will be a way for them to inject this stuff, but it's something they got to think about. So Patrick, with the experience you both have in testing objects and mannequins in Eliswami's realistic in saying the car would not be able to crash in the future. Oh, so a while ago, Alaswamy, who is the head of what is it? The head of what is his title? Do you remember? Not head of Autopilot, head of I can't remember. Are you looking it up? Because I always want to say it's the head of Autopilot, but it's the head of you'll get it.
Trying to figure out
he basically in one of his talks, I want to say head of AI, but that's not it either. Said that Tesla is working on making an uncrashable car. So basically, with the software and the hardware that they're putting together, it will be impossible for this car to crash. Obviously, that would mean impossible for it to crash into other things because you can't prevent things from crashing into you. But
yeah, I'm sure that's the goal. I think that I think it's not realistic when you're sharing the road with humans. Maybe if every single car on the road was being controlled by computers, maybe that could come to fruition. But I think when there's humans on the road, there's always going to be a significant amount of unpredictability, and I think we're still going to see accidents. It's just, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that's the goal, though. I really that is what they're working on.
Of course, and it sounds like an Elon
goal
goal because he wants the impossible things to happen. So his title does
pointy, and the cars never crash.
Yeah, he does actually say his LinkedIn does actually say he's the director of Autopilot at Tesla. But if you look at Karpathy's LinkedIn, it's director of AI at Tesla. So I actually was, I guess, kind of right on both of those. But yeah, so Karpathy was director of AI. I thought Alaswamy Ashok was also director of AI, but whatever. He tells the Autopilot coders what to do. Okay, I'm sure there's more to it than that. Edward, this is a funny one. Do you think we will ever have a driver-facing leaderboard for personal miles driven? Oh, I want this so bad. What do you think?
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Do you have Tesla insurance?
Cool. No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, because if you have Tesla insurance, you can see your Autopilot miles versus manual miles. Omar's always posting that. Omar's blog will, he'll drive 900 miles on Autopilot and 1 mile manual. I mean, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty fun to get that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Okay, what do you think about ass? So actually, Smart Summon, Elon. This is an Elon reply I got almost about exactly a year ago, and he said that, yeah, we all want that. Hopefully, I think he said like next month. Again, a year ago he said that.
Yeah.
And he's responded to other people since then saying, oh yeah, it's coming. But then version 12 came into the conversation. So my opinion on it is that we're probably not going to see it for a long time, because I think we'd get version 12, which will have all the cool enhancements like we saw in Elon's live stream, where it like parked itself. It like pulled over on the side of the road. That was crazy. And then this will come later while they're working on the other stuff. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the same. I think in that drive, Elon did say that version 12 is when we'd see actually Smart Summon. And, he went through a couple parking lots in that video, and it was like super impressive. Like, I never use Smart Summon just because it's embarrassing. It's like genuinely embarrassing. And I have to like run to my car sometimes. But once that is out, like, I think that's going to be pretty huge. Yeah, I almost think like the current summon is kind of like a bad example. Like, people see a driverless Tesla in the parking lot just doing like all these super wacky things. It's like, no, I swear it's better than this. Full self-driving is way better. But yeah, I can't wait till those two come together.
I know. Yeah, it'll be great. It's, you know what, I will use it so at my work, there's like nobody in the parking lot. My work is really small, and then the other company that uses the parking lot like is still mostly work from home. So if we have some really bad rain or something, I will use it. I can walk in the rain, but just because I have it, it's kind of fun. But yeah, I've had to go rescue it a couple of times. Actually, one time, this was so funny. My coworker went out and she was sleeping in her car. And my car was on the other side of the parking lot. So I smart summoned it all the way over to her car and then beeped the horn. So she's sleeping in her car. And then just like there's a car facing her directly. But I was in the building. I wasn't even outside.
See, that's a solid use case right there. Solid. Exactly. That's what that's the current capability, and that's what you use it for. But I can't wait until it's actually like something you actually are like, oh,
I know.
I have a bunch of groceries in my hand and I can't be bothered to walk the 200 feet. Like
Right. And
that's
to
the
get it over
beginning.
there, I think it disconnected like 2 or 3 times. It had to keep
Yeah.
reconnecting. It kept stopping
It
in the middle of the
disconnects.
parking lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It just slams on the brakes too.
Have you been in it? Have you used Smart Summon while you sit in it?
Yeah, and I've had
Ugh.
other people in my car that want to do it, and they're just like, "Oh, never again." Because like any
Yeah,
disconnect, it'll just full on like 100% brakes,
it's crazy.
like the seat belts lock up. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like it's crazy.
right. Fart sound is the best feature. Now, that's not boding very well if the fart sound is the best feature of our cars. Okay. Do you believe the front bumper camera is capable of looking to the left and right? Would be desirable to minimize the need for creeping forward. We know Cybertruck has a front bumper camera.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like anything that gives the car more context is going to be desirable for sure. I have seen a lot of the people on Twitter that are saying like, "Oh, the current cars will never be full self-driving because they don't have this camera in the front." But like, I don't really believe that. Like, the trucks that drive around here have probably like a 10-foot blind spot in front of them, and they're still driving around. So I don't think that that's going to prevent. Like, I think it can provide some valuable context occasionally, but I don't think it's necessary for full self-driving.
Yeah, I've seen people say like, because obviously you can't see in that spot either as a human. And people are like, oh, but you can get out of the car and go look. Oh, come on, nobody does that.
Yeah,
Like, shut up.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not it's not a thing. Now, the thing that you do is as you're walking to your car, you would, unless you're staring at your phone, you see around your car. So if you were going to drive forward, usually, I mean, if you're going to drive forward, you would see that area before you got in the car, or you're going to back up. So that doesn't matter. Whereas it's true, the car can't do that. But if anything, the car could first back up and then go forward. If that was like kind of really the limiting factor in why you couldn't drive. All right, so this is for you. You may have tackled the NB85 interchange to NB280, where people have to dodge each other getting onto 280 or coming off 280 Mountain View exit. Have you done that?
Yeah, I don't have any like. That's where I know the place he's talking about, and that's
Okay.
typically where like everybody loses all their brain cells at once. And traffic just kind of starts flowing together.
Yeah.
And that's probably a pretty good example of where autopilot struggles right now, is
Right.
because like when there's so much chaos, it tries to react to everything and it doesn't really realize other drivers' intentions. So yeah, that's an interesting one. That might have to be a test spot for me, where I kind of like go out there and see how the current versions do and then compare it to when version 12 comes out. Because I feel like version 12 will just be, I mean, I'm hoping, I don't know any of this for sure, but I think it's just going to be better at predicting what humans are going to do instead of like reacting to everything. Like, if that makes sense. Like, just because there's a car like coming into you and like about to cut you off, like doesn't mean you slam on your brakes, because that just makes things worse. Yeah.
It's scared of
So,
that right now.
oh yeah, and like as it probably should be, you know what I mean? But like eventually it's going to have to figure it out. That's why I also think there's going to be accidents, because I want it to do those things, but those things are also increase the risk of an accident. But that's
Yeah, for sure, because it's this problem of just like having expectations, because technically, like if you're talking like physics, if you're here and a car is coming at you at 50 miles an hour, if you extrapolate this exchange, you're going to collide. But they have a stop sign, and you assume they're going to stop at the stop sign. So of course you think they're going to be slowing down soon, but there's a certain spot where they won't have time to slow down or whatever. And the car just isn't as kind of in tune with it. It's almost just like an intuition thing, right? The car doesn't have that. It just is doing calculations, and it's like, oh, beep boop, these two are coming together, we got to stop. So which I mean, I agree with you, it's not a bad decision. So, but it's still wrong.
yeah, it's tough. The
Yeah.
deeper you get into these self-driving scenarios, like you realize how much of a challenge it is. And I think like I said, we saw that a lot with the Cruise. Like they're in there manually programming the car to be more human, with some dire consequences sometimes.
Yep. Needs a theory of mind. That's a good way to put it. Full self-driving needs a theory of mind. Full self-driving needs a memory. That's kind of the thing I am most wanting.
Yeah, absolutely. The memory thing.
Right. Because I mean, I don't know how much you kind of travel and drive in other places, but I've noticed that when I drive somewhere new, like I've literally never been before, I drive a lot more like FSD does than I do normally, if that makes sense. So I make complete stops. I maybe don't accelerate very well. I almost miss a turn and turn late. It kind of like was like a mind trip for me the first time I realized that.
Yeah, no, it's using the beta so much really does make me like hyper focus on like how I drive and like the things that I'm doing subconsciously that we don't even think about. There's so much.
Right, for sure. All right, we got a lot. You guys are having fun today. This is great. Again, make sure you subscribe to AI Drivr, his YouTube channel. All right, we'll talk about this one. This is just, I mean, we have no info. Actually, I want to ask you, did you, you might have to deny this. Did you talk to anyone on an Autopilot team ever?
So there is a way to give feedback to the Autopilot team internally, and I did that pretty frequently.
Were you buddies with any of them? Like met them in person or anything?
No, I never met any of that team in person. My focus was on production in the factories and stuff. It's a completely different team. So, but we did have like chats and stuff.
Yeah, but at Tesla, everybody's doing everything. Like, yeah. Did you read the book, the Walter Isaacson book?
Oh no, not yet.
Okay, well, you don't commute anymore, because since I still commute, I listen to it in the car. One of the things he talked about is that when Tesla was first starting, he put what did he do? Oh, he put, when he was trying to get the parts prices down for the rockets, he put the auto manufacturing people with the rocket people, and they were like, hey, how do we, we have a nozzle, like you have nozzles on cars, how do you get it cheaper? And they ended up figuring out that like the nozzle was like the exact same part, but when you would buy it from a supplier for a rocket, they'd charge you $1,000. And when you buy it from Amazon, it would be 3 cents, but it was literally the exact same thing. Of course, there's, more certification and stuff, but that's how they were able to like bring the cost of the rocket down like so much. So anyway, you never know. Like these Autopilot guys are like, oh, the car's got to see. And you're like, hey, actually, we have this part. I mean, it's just, just thinking about that stuff. But
the teams definitely all interlace at Tesla. Even from the quality side, we worked with a lot of different like internal teams that you wouldn't even think we would work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you noticed on your hardware 4 versus hardware 3? I don't know. I posted about this on X. I don't know if you saw it. Your camera's getting dirty. I mean, I don't think you drive on dirt roads like I do, right? Or do you?
Not really. Yeah, I can't. Which cameras specifically? You're talking about like
the repeaters.
The repeaters. Okay.
Yeah.
They're like just more prone to collect dust.
Oh, it's crazy. So my hardware 3 Model Y, the repeaters like almost never get dirty. I mean, I'll take a thumb and wipe them off like a couple times a year. Honestly, that's like how much they get dirty. My hardware 4 cameras, I could wipe them off once a week. I mean, they're just getting gunk on them. And it's not as bad as the rear camera. It's not like they're getting covered and they can't see, but they're definitely getting like a layer of like dust on them that is altering the view. And you can clearly see it in the preview on the screen.
Oh, wow.
And then when you look at them, there was some discussion below it. Somebody, there's a lot of people smarter than me commenting, and they like drew on it. They're like, look, you can tell the camera's like at a different angle. It's not as deep into the housing. And so there's the hardware 4 repeater shape is definitely different than the hardware 3 shape. And they're like getting dirtier. So I don't know. I just was wondering if that's something you noticed.
Yeah, I haven't like as much as this is going to break people's heart. Like I have a unlimited car wash membership, and I just bring my car through the brushes every couple days.
No, that's good. No, I actually agree with that.
But I would love to see what it looks like when it's actually like all gunked up like that, because that's like a pretty interesting problem. The other thing that I noticed that was surprising to me is hardware 4 cameras seem to have a wider view, and they seem to see further ahead than the hardware 3 repeaters, but just like 5 or 10 degrees short of seeing sideways, where you could use them for like oncoming traffic when you're doing those unprotected turns.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a confusing one for me. I can see how the cameras would be tilted a little bit differently than hardware 3. But yeah, that was like so weird. So once I did those comparison videos, I was like, why wouldn't they just if they have the resolution, why wouldn't they just use a camera with like 5 or 10 degrees more of field of view?
I
That
know.
would have like it's crazy.
Sorry, somebody just said, AI driver, is there anything you can say about your NDA? No. The heck? No.
Not currently.
I'm sorry, that was just so funny. Okay, so yeah, I don't know, the cameras kind of threw me off. I didn't like that realization when I saw they were getting dirty. All right, so I was going to go to this one. This is all just speculation. I mean, we don't have any information on this, but when do you think they're really going to take the nag away, especially for those of us that have been doing FSD beta testing for the last couple of years? And then again, I want to give a little context. So several times on Twitter now, Elon has responded, I think just to Omar about it, but that like he agrees we shouldn't have the steering wheel nag anymore. We have to keep a hand on the wheel. And he also has specifically agreed that it comes after the person has, X amount of miles, like 10,000 miles of full self-driving experience. So I would love for the nag to be gone. I don't know if you've ever used any cheat devices just to like kind of play around. But it is a way better experience when you don't have to hold the wheel.
Yeah. I think Elon is all in favor of treating people like adults. And if it was up to him, we would have no nag right now. But I'm sure there's people in his ear like what is that going to mean? How can people abuse this basically? And like it's kind of like a tug of war situation where like I'm glad that Tesla treats us like adults, but there are people who abuse that by like putting teddy bears in like the driver's seat or something. And I just think that removing the nag could just create like you see all the false headlines already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never to be honest, the way I use Autopilot, like I have like a full self-driving profile that like lowers the steering wheel slightly and I just rest it in my hands. So like I put my hand on my lap and I just let the steering wheel kind of like flow through my hand. So it's never been a big deal for me. And I kind of like knowing what the steering wheel is doing. I feel like I can almost predict the car's movements sometimes. But like whenever I'm showing full self-driving to somebody who's never seen it before, I'm like, oh, look at this. Yeah.
Of course.
Like
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully soon. I have a feeling they could implement something. 10,000 miles on beta seems like an awful lot.
Not for me. Not for
you. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Depends on which car. I have well over 10,000 on the Model S, but I don't drive the Model Y too much.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you. The whole thing of like people using it right and okay, because here's the thing. I think technically in Michigan, I know the traffic laws are so confusing. I think it's actually illegal to have your hands off the wheel. I think legally you always have to have one on the wheel anyway. So it's kind of this thing, and it's illegal to drive without your seatbelt, right? Obviously. And FSD won't work if you're not wearing a seatbelt. So Tesla has multiple like things implemented to stop people from doing dumb stuff. You will never stop people from doing a dumb thing if they want to do it. You can't stop them. They'll figure out a way. It's not Tesla's fault anymore. If I go in my Ford and I put on cruise control and then I close my eyes and it drives into a wall, that's not Ford's fault. Yes, the car was giving it gas and accelerating into that wall. It's not Ford's fault. It's my fault. It's the same thing with Tesla. Obviously, they get way more clicks, so we hear a lot more about Tesla. But I get very frustrated that anyone thinks Tesla needs to do any more to stop people from doing dumb stuff. It makes no sense to me. I don't know how anyone can come to that conclusion.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And I completely agree. And it drives me nuts.
Yeah. It's very strange. Let's see options to make Model Y ground. Oh man, I would like that too. Sorry. Talking about Model Y ground clearance. So I'm not going to say that. All right. You got time for a couple more?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get a couple more of these fan questions in. Maybe we could try to do a rapid fire. I will shut up and I will let you.
Rapid fire. Oh, no.
Yeah, well, I spend 1 million hours on every question and get way behind. So let's see how many of these we can get you through. Here we go. So won't a Tesla robotaxi need hardware to prevent occupants from accessing steering pedals like current robotaxis have?
Hardware to prevent occupants. What is the? I guess I don't know what kind of hardware they have. I've seen people sitting in the front seat and with Waymos and the steering wheel's turning. And
Yeah,
there's
the
like no
hardware.
separator.
The hardware in the Waymo is that there's a little sign there that says, please do not touch the steering wheel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. Alrighty. What are your expectations with V12? Maybe like your top 2 or 3 hopes for it.
My hopes is that we see less robotic mistakes that are unsettling for people. Like I know, like I've let my mom use full self-driving in my car, and it had one like random brake, and that was it. She's like, I don't want this anymore. You know what I mean? So hopefully, when the control moves to a neural network that's only been trained on humans and removes all the if-then statements, we see a car that is behaving a lot more naturally. And when it does make mistakes, those mistakes are more human-like, and it controls more human-like.
Right, definitely. Alrighty. Very nice. Sean, question: when watching and videos to train the neural net, how can they know what was the cost to maneuver with so many things going on? I'm sorry, I don't fully understand that question. How can they know what was the cost to maneuver? Do you understand that, or should we move on?
Maybe he's talking about like the processing. Like, how did they know?
Sure.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. That's the big question, right? Like, it's no longer like it manually tracking every. I mean, my impression of it from what I got is it's no longer like manually looking at every single vehicle and calculating their path and deciding what the best path to go through is. It's kind of just like looking at everything like a human would and being like, okay, like what's the solution to this problem?
Right.
Yeah,
definitely.
Or I don't even know if it could give you an answer to what it's doing.
That's part of the problem with we're trying to go fast, but that's part of the problem with this AI approach is you don't know. You don't know how it makes the decisions. As long as it's doing it correctly, you're fine, but you can't get in there and tweak it. With the technology today, it's not possible. I'll answer this one really quick. So wasn't Tesla implementing a new radar? What happened? So Tesla is putting a new HD radar, an in-house radar that they made, or a high resolution radar that they made in Model S and X. They're in S and X today, but in the book, and Elon confirmed this, that on the last earnings call, that Tesla is taking data from those radars that are on the road to kind of determine if they need it or not. So as of now, no vehicle, even if you have a radar in it, FSD is not using it to make decisions, but Tesla is gathering data from it to kind of see, okay, are the cameras seeing enough? Does this radar add enough to FSD's perception and capabilities that we should implement this in all our cars? So that's what's going on with that. Any idea what Tesla is thinking with vision cars on hardware 3? Will they ever get back features like Summon or Auto Park? Yeah, I hate this subject. It's been a long time.
Yeah, vision and hardware 3. I mean, with the new update coming out, it seems like they haven't forgotten about them. That's the good news, right? Is like, but that's the other challenge, is like they have all this different hardware now. They have like hardware 3 no ultrasonics, hardware 4. Yeah, I mean, I can guarantee you they're going to get features back like Summon and Auto Park. The question is when. Right now, like we've known that they're training restricted. Like that's the biggest bottleneck right now, is like training time. And I have a feeling that once we see the initial version, like the initial version of version 12 come out, like we're going to see a lot of these features re-rolling back in very quickly, is my interpretation, at least.
Right. Yep. They know they're working on something, but it shouldn't even be on the website. I hate that they still have it on the website.
Yeah, that kind of bugs me too.
Yeah, it's been over a year. Like, just take it off the website. Okay, so we got that one. Couple more here. This one's funny. Couldn't we just program Optimus to drive and make every car self-driving? Kind of. Optimus doesn't have a neck, so he can't do that. But yeah, I mean, if he has the software to self-drive, then they would just load that software onto the car.
He can just plug himself into the OBD2 port, and then it just, yeah. There you go.
He has all the eyes on the outside. Move the steering wheel. Hey, you know what? Plug his arm into the steering column.
Yeah,
That's
heck
it.
yeah. Problem solved.
Oh, but what you said is even better. If he's plugged into the OBD, then he can just control the whole car from right there, right? I'm not sure if that's all connected to the pedals. That might be a little sketch, but okay. Do you think, very specific here, do you think V12 will have the annoyance where it centers on a wide lane, even though the right side is normally for parking or right turns? We have this in Michigan as well, so I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on how much data they have for wide lanes for cars that are normally parked. Like that's just basically what it comes down to, is like, hopefully, like that's the whole point of version 12, is it takes the human path in more and more places. And there's so much to that too. Like, yeah, I mean, I have high hopes. I really do for version 12. One of my other biggest annoyances is like the intention. The current beta doesn't give intention very well. Like if you're approaching a pedestrian who's like standing on the side of the road, it will just go right at them. I mean, you can see on the path prediction, it'll go around, it'll slow down and go around, but it's like the pedestrian the entire time is like, does this guy see me? Does this guy see me? So hopefully with version 12, we see more and more human behavior where it's like doing the human thing. You know, like if you're approaching a pedestrian, you could be a few hundred feet away, like start moving over, like let them know.
100%.
Yeah.
Huge complaint of mine, especially on the dirt roads with people walking, biking, or even other cars. You do not wait till the car's going to go around them, but you don't wait till the last second to make that move. You do it the second you see them, you start to move over, exactly as you said, so that they see me, we're good. Yeah. I also have really high hopes for version 12. I think something like that would probably do really well, especially after like Elon's live stream, and it's been so many months. I should calm myself down because we've had high hopes for earlier versions.
I'm trying not to give my hopes up here.
I know, but I can't help it. How does Tesla learn to react in situations where an accident is unavoidable when trained on normal non-crashing rides? That's a great question. That is, because if you're feeding it good drives, there's not going to be any crashing. And if you feed it crashes, it might learn to just, I should crash into buildings. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any like,
this question's above,
like
this question is above my pay grade. So I'm just going to say
same here. We're just going to have to see.
I want to write that down.
How to answer that.
In situations,
there's going to have to be something that happens, right? Like if it gets into a fender bender, or like somebody rear ends the car, is it just going to take off?
Right. Yeah, that's an awesome question. I'm actually going to put it on X because I like that question a lot. I just stole your question. So thank you. If you're on X, respond so I can tag you on that. All right. I got one more for you. Are the frequencies of FSD beta releases spread out more because version 12 is incoming? What do you think?
I think definitely. I think it's kind of like all hands on deck on getting this thing working properly, and that's probably why the releases have been few and far between lately. But like I said, I think once we get the initial V12 rollout, I think they're going to come a lot more frequently.
Yeah, we saw this a lot with, in the past when we were waiting for like 10.69 and version 11 and all this stuff. There were huge times in between updates because they're working on something else. So totally agree. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know if you have any closing comments. Would you like to say anything to everybody besides go subscribe to your channel and get you to 100,000 subscribers?
Yeah. Give me that plaque. Look at that plaque highlighted over there, man. Give me one of those.
He needs it.
Look good on that right here. This is where it goes.
You got a great little area there. I like it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is my mini office.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure. Nice to actually finally meet you. I've been a fan forever, like I said. So it's just
good. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. It's great to meet you too. And I really enjoy your videos. And thank you for all the cool, I feel like we make these videos and like there's certain types of videos and then someone else comes along and like adds to them and, does a certain style and stuff. And then someone else comes and adds to that. So like you've kind of taken in the next layer and I've taken stuff from you. And so it's been really good. So thank you so much for spending your time answering everybody's questions. Maybe we will do this again in the future. This will be available in the future on your favorite podcasting app. I'll try to upload it tonight, wherever you listen to podcasts. So hopefully you can enjoy that or you can watch it later on YouTube. So thank you everybody and have a good day. Peace.
Peace.